Welcome to your next video on reports. And during this particular segment, I want to show you a few reports that I find to be the most useful when analyzing and looking at a business. And a few of these reports are covered in my Chief Wealth Officer program. In that program, we really learn all about, the three major financial reports, how they impact your business, sort of red alerts and red flags that you should look for, how to read your net profit, your taxable profit, all of that. So if you really want to learn how to harness the power of these reports, I would definitely look into that course as well. So there's two major reports that I go to and my team goes to in my office time and time again. Those are always available to you on the recommended section of the reports menu. If you recall, we have our reports tab over here, but this section is a little bit different than the other areas of navigation where we have a left to right menu. So these are your recommended reports. The profit and loss and balance sheet are always here. So the profit and loss simply looks at your income and your expenses for a particular period of time. And we talked about this a little bit in the earlier modules about the difference between cash and accrual accounting. I would probably recommend that you run all of your reports on a cash basis. That's something you want to determine with your accountant, but typically small businesses run on a cash basis unless they're carrying inventory. So what we want to look at with the profit and loss is, that's how much money you pulled in minus how much money you spent. And at the end of it, did you make a profit? And what did that profit look like? So one of the things that we do as an ongoing service to our monthly clients is at the end of the month, when we tie out and we reconcile all of their transactions, we send them these reports so they can see how their business is doing. So I'm going to run a report for a particular period. Let's see if this has 2015 data in it. Recall that we are using a sample file provided to us by Intuit. So I decided to run this report by custom dates, January 1st through November 30th. And we can start to see some things that have happened in the business. So for Craig's Design and Landscaping Services, the total amount of income he received during this time was $5,080. I think Craig is going to have to start earning a little bit more money if he wants to stay in business. If you recall, he set up different income accounts. So $862 of this was earned through design income. He gave $8.75 worth of discounts. That's why we see a negative. He earned $921.30 in landscaping services, etc. So these are all the different categories of income he earned. And this is a perfect case of accounts bloat where I don't think that keeping track of $5 worth of pest control services is probably worth it. We could probably condense this quite a bit and get some more powerful information. So he earned $5,080 during that period. He spent $228 on the cost of doing business. So this is money he paid out in labor or materials that was directly related to producing this income. And we talked about that particular categorization, the cost of goods sold categorization, during our chart of accounts videos. Then we get down to the expenses section. And if you recall, these are the operational expenses related to a business. Just before I dive into that, I want to show you this particular line item, which is really, really important in your business, which is the gross profit number. And that's your total income minus your cost of sales or cost of goods sold equals your gross profit. And obviously you want to keep this number as high as possible. That's your profit margin. So keeping a close tabs on that number is really important. So now we look at the operational expenses for Craig's business, and we go through all the normal stuff that we talked about: advertising, fuel, job materials. In my opinion, these job materials should probably be up here in cost of goods sold. Again, this goes back to setting up QuickBooks properly so that you can harness the power of the reports. In this particular instance, if these job materials are really part of cost of goods sold, we want to see them up there because they're going to impact our gross profit and hence our profit margin. So again, go back to that video if you need to and review how to set up QuickBooks Online properly. We can see how much he spent on professional fees, maintenance and repairs, office rent, utilities, and then his net operating income. And so the net operating income is the total income minus the cost of sales minus the expenses. And this number is very often called the taxable income. Again, look into the Chief Wealth Officer program. We dive really deep into this and talk all about it. This is pretty close to what you'll pay taxes on. Not exactly, because there's, rules and regulations and complicated tax laws, but this is more or less your taxable income. So one of the things that I really love about QuickBooks Online, this is also a feature in the desktop option, is saving these reports. So sometimes, you're going to want to customize this so that you can actually, there's just a specific area for saved reports. So you could go and you don't have to navigate in all these multiple different areas trying to find the report that you want. One of the things that we always save is the last month report because we work with our clients monthly. So we'll save this customization. This is the custom report name. So we want to be descriptive here so we know what sort of report this actually is. So this is a profit and loss last month. See, it's for the last month here. You can add it to a group. Sharing is important. If you have a CPA who uses your QuickBooks Online file or a bookkeeper, make sure you share that with all members of your team so you can all quickly navigate the saved reports. And you're going to click Save. Now, if I navigate back over to my Reports menu and I click this menu, My Custom Reports, you're going to see that profit and loss last month report that we just created. So this is awesome, right? I sign into QuickBooks Online. I've done all my monthly bookkeeping. I go to my Reports menu. I don't have to dodgily go through all of these menus wondering where that profit and loss report is. I can go right to my custom reports, click the link, and then voila, there is my report. So going back quickly, the profit and loss measures your profitability for a period of time. Your balance sheet shows your assets, such as cash that you have in the bank, money that's due to you, inventory assets. We talked about that a little bit during that chart of accounts video, and the liabilities. This report is really important to gauge the overall financial health of your business. Again, we talk about that in the Chief Wealth Officer program. It's very typical that your accountant or your tax preparer will ask you for a balance sheet as of the last day of your tax year. Most people file on a calendar year, which is January 1 through 12/31. Some people, however, file on a fiscal year. So your end of year closing date might be different. But this report is something your accountant will almost definitely ask you for. So the other thing you're going to see in your recommended reports menu is your AR aging summary. So this lets you know all of the money that's due to you. I don't particularly love this report, so I'm going to show you a different one that I really like. So the accounts receivable, before I actually show you the report that I love, the accounts receivable aging summary, it is really important if you have a large business and you're sending out a lot of invoices, because this is the report you're going to look to if you have to crack that collections whip and go after customers who have not been paying you. In this instance, we can see that Bill's Windsurf Shop has an invoice that's past due for 31 to 60 days. So we want to go after him and write him a nice note and say, hey, Bill, you owe us some money. But most of the businesses that I work with, the report that is most helpful to them when tracking their accounts receivable can be found by navigating to the All Reports menu, Manage Accounts Receivable, and then the Customer Balance Detail Report. So the reason why I love this is because the types of businesses I work with, and a lot of the types of businesses that are purchasing this course, they have smaller companies and their relationships with their clients are really intimate. And this report just shows us what's open per particular client. So for example, 55 Twin Lane has 2 different invoices that are open and due. Gita has 1 invoice due. So this report is very, very useful for small businesses and solopreneurs. So again, to make sure we don't have to navigate through that entire labyrinth of the reporting menu, I would go ahead right now, if you've set up your QuickBooks Online file, navigate to that report where I'm going to show you again. It's reports, all reports, manage accounts receivable, customer balance detail, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to save that customization. You might want to call this something different. I think customer balance detail is a little, it's awkward. So maybe open invoices by customer. You're going to share it with all members of your team and you're going to click save. So now when we go back to the reports menu, my custom reports, we can show profit and loss last month and open invoices by customer. I'm going to show you 2 other reports that I think are really important and 2 reports that my customers love. Okay, so we looked at that profit and loss summary report before. Earlier, we looked at this. Remember, we talked about it. What I'm going to show you is the profit and loss detail report. So if you navigate over to all reports and to your business overview, and then down to your profit and loss detail report. This report is awesome for proofreading. I definitely recommend that you run it at least once a month, if not definitely once a quarter. So what this shows us is all the individual line items that have posted to our accounts, right? So, we use this to make sure that we've classified transactions correctly. So, maybe this one isn't pest control. Maybe it's a different sort of transaction. So this report is really helpful, and it's also really, really powerful to see where all your money is being spent. You're like, wait, I'm buying so much gas. What's happening? Or my equipment costs are too high. This report is awesome for finding those recurring transactions that are just complete profit drains on small businesses. Those pieces of software that you purchase and you never use. So this is called the profit and loss detail report. Again, I'll show you how to navigate to that. Reports, all reports, business overview, profit and loss detail report. Again, once you find it, first of all, I recommend that you change the accounting method to cash if you haven't already, and then save that customization, sharing it with all members of your team so that you can quickly find it again. So that profit and loss detail is really critical to maintaining that consistency we're talking about, right? Making sure things are classified the same each and every time, and making sure that everything is in the right bucket, so to speak. Another report that my customers find incredibly effective for managing their expenses and keeping track of their expenses can be found by navigating to the All Reports menu, going to Review Expenses and Purchases, and then looking at the Expenses by Vendor Summary, because that will really give you some idea as to who you are paying the most amount of money during a period of time. So again, anytime in any report, you can always change the date. You can look at it by month. You can look at it by year. You can look at it by this quarter. I love this report. It's super helpful. So there you have it, a deep dive into the reports that I love the most, things that you will also probably find most helpful in your video. In the next video, we're going to talk about customizing reports. There might be a few different things that you want to change that are particular to your business.